Hello everyone, this is Father Sanjay Kumar Benya. Welcome again to this video lecture series on pastoral epistles, and in this video we are going to talk about the church government or the church order that we find in the pastoral epistles, right? There are three offices that are mentioned in the pastoral epistles. We find in 1 Timothy chapter 3 verse 10, chapter 4 verse 14, and chapter 5 verse 21, and 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 6. These leaders were the individuals who were inducted in the church to take care of different ministries of the church, and therefore they are to be respected because of the position they were holding and for the sake of the work that they were assigned to carry out in the church. We read in 1 Timothy chapter 5 verse 17 where it says, these officials were worthy of double honor. So they were worthy of double honor, and the writer of the pastoral epistles encourages uh, the believers to pay due respect to these officials who were appointed in the church. Right. So now we are going to talk about these three offices that we find in the church. We will talk about them one by one. Let's begin with the office of the elders. This office was one of the most ancient of all the offices within the church, right? So this was one of the ancient offices that was adopted in the church. This, in fact, originated during the time of Moses, when the people of Israel were, wandering in the wilderness. At that time, 70 men were appointed to help Moses take care of the people of Israel as they were traveling from, Egypt to Canaan. This we read in Numbers chapter 11, verse 16. And later on, the same structure was also, inducted or adopted in the New Testament time, right? So during the time of Apostle Paul and during the time of Jesus Christ and his disciples, we find the role of elders in the synagogue. Okay, so every synagogue had elders, and they were the real leaders among the Jewish communities, right? They were the ones who were presiding over the worship in the synagogue. They also were able to exercise certain authorities over the people. They rebuked and disciplined the people when it was necessary for them. They also were responsible for settling the disputes and arguments among the people. When people had any disputes or arguments among themselves, they would bring the case to the elders, and the elders were responsible to solve the problems among the people of Israel, or among the Jewish people. Therefore, in other words, elders were highly respected in the society, in the Jewish society, and they enjoyed some sort of authority over the Jewish communities. In other words, they were able to execute fatherly oversight over the people, both spiritually as well as, in their material affairs. Okay. All right, so now let's talk about the elders in the pastoral epistles. Okay, so now what does the writer of the pastoral epistles say about the elders? They are mentioned in two passages in 1 Timothy chapter 5 verses 17 to 19, and Titus chapter 1 verse 5. Right, so the Greek word presbyteros which is translated into English as uh, elder, right? So the Greek word presbyteros is translated into English as elder, and so it referred to an older person in the ordinary day-to-day language of the Greek people. Okay, so in the daily life, the Greek people use this word to talk about an elderly person, okay, to refer to or to point out an elderly person. They would use the word presbyteros. But in the pastoral epistles, we see this word had a significant use in the church uh, because it referred to the title for an office or one of the offices in the church. All right, so now let's talk about the council of the presbyters during the time of Apostle Paul. Right, so the presbyters had a council which they called in English Presbyterian. All right, which is mentioned in 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 14. And the council of elders, this also is translated in different versions and in different ways. It is translated as council of elders, body of elders, and uh, this this council was responsible for ruling over the people, or they had the function of ruling. But at the same time, there were some elders who also were engaged in preaching and teaching among the Jews community members. And our word priest, the word priest that we are using, is derived from an abbreviation of the word presbyter, right? So we have got our word priest from the abbreviation of the word presbyter. All right, so now moving on to the qualifications of the elders. Now, these three epistles, they have certain things to talk about the qualifications of the elders. First of all, the elders were expected to be married people. An elder was supposed to have one wife, and he should be the head of the family with the responsibility to maintain discipline at home. And he also was someone who had reputation with the outsiders, right? So he had good reputation among the people outside the church. All right, so now, let's now move on to the next office, which is the office of the bishop. This was another office which we find in 1 Timothy chapter 3 verses 1 through 7, Titus chapter 1 verses 7 to 9. The Greek word for this office is episcopos, which is translated as bishop in the English version of the Bible, and it means overseer or superintendent, right? The word episcopos, which is translated as bishop in the English version of the Bible, and it means overseer or superintendent. Now let's talk about the history and origin of this word. Okay, this word also had a long and honorable history. The Septuagint, which is the Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible, use this word for the people who were appointed as the taskmasters over some public works and building schemes, right? So in the day-to-day life, this word was used for the people who were appointed as taskmasters over the public works and building schemes. This we read in 1 Chronicles chapter 34 verse 17. The Greeks used this word in their day-to-day life to refer to the people or the leaders who were appointed to go out to the newly formed cities. Okay, the Greeks used to conquer new lands, and they used to establish new Greek cities. And after establishing Greek cities, they would send some people with some assignments, so that they would go and take care of these newly formed cities, regulate the rules and regulations, and those appointed people were also called as episcopos in their day-to-day language, or in their day-to-day life. Okay, so the Romans also used the word episcopos for the magistrates who were responsible to oversee the sale of food in the city of Rome. Right, so we see the use of this word in the Septuagint among the Greek society, and the Romans, who used this word in different ways. And the same word was adopted in the church to refer to one of the offices of the church. Right, so now to talk about the function of a bishop, the ministry of the word and the ministry of the service, these two ministries were under the supervision of a bishop. Right, he was responsible to supervise the ministry of the word as well as the ministry of the service, which was offered to the people who were in need. Okay, now let's move on to the third office that is mentioned in the Pastoral Epistles, which is the office of the deacons. It is mentioned in 1 Timothy chapter 3 verses 8 through 13. The Greek word for this is diakonos, which is translated into English as deacons, and the meaning is servant or minister. As far as the responsibilities of the deacons are concerned, it is not spelled out in the pastoral epistles. Okay, so the duties are not spelled out, but probably the deacons were the ones who served under the bishop, and they were mainly responsible for doing the charitable work that was offered to the people who were in need in the church. Speaking about the qualifications of the deacons, the qualifications were similar to the qualifications of the elders that we mentioned already. Alright, so these are the three offices that we find in the pastoral epistles: the office of presbyters or elders, the office of bishops, and the office of deacons, which were prevalent during the time of Apostle Paul as he was writing to Timothy and Titus.